Overwhelmed with online, or just wanting to learn more about how you can build a successful business amidst all of the self-appointed gurus, big buzzwords and empty promises? The Breaking Digital podcast by Doyle Bueller tells you exactly what smart entrepreneurs need to know to escape the clutter, get clear of the confusion, and pass the bullshit of building and growing a successful business online. It's about digital leadership and delivering the best value for your business online to your audience. Now, here's your host and author of the book on digital leadership and online marketing, The Digital Delusion, Doyle Bueller.
Welcome back. Today we're talking with the remarkable Matt Giovanisci, who's been doing some fascinating things with digital marketing, online business, and that sort of thing. And he's got a few things up his sleeve. So Matt likes satire, and he likes having fun and taking the mickey out of a few things as well in terms of the digital marketing space. And how do I know? Well, the website that he set up, moneylab.co/guest, he actually has his own introduction. So I'm just going to read off a few just so you can get an idea of what's in store for you on this podcast. Matt already wrote some killer intros. Podcast hosts like to start interviews with, "So tell us a little bit about yourself," which I didn't do, I might add. Instead, here's some better intros you can use. My guest is Matt Giovanisci. He's my best friend. That's number one. Today, we have Matt Giovanisci, an entrepreneur who loves to rap. That was number two. Number three, I would like to introduce Matt Giovanisci. He's an amazing person. And finally, number four, I'd like to welcome a man who needs no introduction. And actually, I think I did that. I don't think I actually introduced Matt during the podcast. Anyway, tell me which one you like, and let's get started. Let's talk with Matt. Listen, I really love what you're doing.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's different, and I actually came across you on one of the sites on Facebook, and it's like, yeah, this guy's doing something different.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was so different.
Yeah. Well, you know what kind of got you started then?
With what? With
just deciding to you it's normal, but I guess to everybody else it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing the online business stuff since 2006, and even before that, I was building websites and so I've always been in this world. I've just kind of been behind the scenes in this world. You know, I've never really been the face of it. You know, like I've just kind of been doing my own thing, making money, not really talking about it publicly on any kind of forum or website. And then I always wanted to, like, I have a lot of opinions, and I have a lot of I have a lot of room for satire, as you probably can guess. But
satire is good.
yeah. So I really just, I've always been here. I just never really said anything, and I kind of wanted to. I just didn't have a platform for it. Like, I didn't want to have my own personal brand. I really didn't. It was really hard to find where I fit in. Like, I didn't want to, because I don't feel comfortable, you know, being an authority in anything really. Except, like, I do feel okay being an authority in the pool industry with Swim University, but not in this world, because I don't think anybody really should be. So I actually tried. I had a podcast that I did. I think it was last year, last year. It was called Driven, and I branded it. I was ready to go. The idea was I was gonna interview other online entrepreneurs like myself and just have like a super long, casual conversation about the whole industry and what was going on. And I don't know, like I think I did like 5, maybe 10 episodes even, and I don't know, just didn't feel right. I felt like I was just doing what
everybody
people
else
wanted.
was doing.
Well, yeah, and what people wanted from me, kind of. Like people wanted to hear me because I did have a podcast. People wanted me to, do another one, and and I don't know. Like I do feel good on podcasts. Like I like doing them. I have an audio background. I did a podcast for a long time, and I feel it's fun. It's fun, But when I did it, I was just like, I don't know. This is not right. I don't know why. Can't put my finger on it, so I'm going to abandon the project. I kept it up, and you can still listen to it. It's
what was it called again?
It's called Driven.
Driven.
If you go to drivenshow.co, that's the website. And I did this like 80s branding. I was trying to do this Miami Vice branding, with a twist of humor to it with my car.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so how do you measure success then? Why do you say it? I mean, it didn't feel right. It didn't get many listens. What were you looking for?
That's a good question. I was looking for my platform,
Yeah,
where I was going to go and say, here's what I believe. Here's what I have to say about all this stuff. Because secretly I'm like a little angry at the industry. I I've been doing this. I've been successful at it in my own right, and um, I have friends in the industry and we talk about these things, and I just, I have my opinions and we all share the same opinions. And so I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should go out there and do something with it. And that's why, Money Lab was kind of the idea for it, which is, so the site's moneylab.co. And the idea right now is I challenge myself to make money, right? Be it online. I mean, right now the tagline is online, but it can be offline, and it will be soon. But the way I measure success is just to do something and put it out into the world. And if
just
anyone,
see the results you get.
yeah, if anyone pays attention to it, it's a success.
Yeah.
If zero people see it, then like, okay. Or if, maybe 10 people see it and they all collectively say like, this is terrible, Matt, and you should do this no more, then okay, then that's probably not a success. But that doesn't happen. So I measure success by like, I have a body of work, right? And so these things are out into the world. You can view them as a person, but they don't live on my bookshelf privately in my home. They live out, in the world. I've shared them, so that's it. I mean, if they make money, great. If they don't, whatever. It depends on what it is. So Money Lab was just this idea of like, instead of me being an authority and like just voicing my opinion and just saying like, oh, I believe that blogging is the future, or I believe that whatever, which is just like what everyone says, and it's just all rhetoric and it's just all preachy, and I don't really want to follow that. I was just like, well, what I'm really good at personally is just I'm really good at getting things accomplished. I'm really good at like having an idea and like bringing it to life in a very short amount of time. And I've always been that way. So I'm like, all right, well, is it weird if I just like build things and people can just read the behind the scenes of that? Because I had, when I really like watching YouTube videos or, listening to podcasts or reading blog posts where people are just talking about what they did, right? It's just like, they're not teaching you anything. They're just showing you like, okay, I just recently watched a video of this EDM group called the Chainsmokers, and they just basically for 45 minutes walked through how they wrote the song Roses on their computer. And to me, it's like the most fascinating 45 minutes because I'm just watching their process and how they did it. And it's like, it just showed you the magic. They showed you how they did the trick. And I learned so much from that, and they taught nothing. They didn't teach anyone how to do anything. It was not a tutorial. It was just like, oh yeah, and then we, raised the volume here, and then we dipped, this, and then we reversed this track, and I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Like so much learning came from that, and they didn't even have to like they're not an authority. They're just like, this is how we do our music, so whatever. And that's really how they ended it. Like they ended it with the F word. Like this is our art, so F it, right? So
did they try to sell you anything at the end?
No, it wasn't. No, exactly. And so I was like, and I really like the way I like that kind of like that those kind of articles and those kind of videos. So I'm like, maybe I'll do that, and the idea really started as like a friend of mine that we used to do a podcast together called Listen Money Matters. The idea was we wanted to do something else. We wanted to do some sort of business, business about business, really. And we didn't want to get into business together. So we were going to have, I have my site, swimmuniversity.com, and I have other sites, and he has his site, Listen Money Matters. And we were going to just like create this thing called Money Lab where we just come together on a podcast, which is what it was going to be. We're going to come together on a podcast and just, challenge each other to make money in our own businesses, so that the Money Lab brand itself didn't actually have to make any money. It was more of like a, and we didn't really care if anyone listened. It was more of just a platform for us to like keep each other accountable for the things that we were trying to pull off, and with the goal of like specifically to make money, which is why we called it that. And we ended up not doing that, and I just ended up taking the brand and turning it into just my personal brand, which is what it is. It's just me out there doing money-making challenges with friends and by myself, and now I'm like doing these little marketing pieces where it's not really about, I'm not writing a how-to guide on how to do anything. I'm just saying, like, I'm just making this like funny piece about, the state of email marketing, or a piece about getting on podcasts, which is, I'm sure, how I got on this one. It's like, it's I'm just,
but Matt,
I'm taking the opposite.
You're breaking the cardinal rule of online marketing. Like, what's going on?
Well, what is I don't even know what the cardinal rule is. And that's actually, so I have my own set of rules that I post on Money Lab in my about page, which is like, one of the rules is ignore, what is it? I'm trying to remember.
Ignore the fluff?
No, it's like ignore best practices or do the opposite.
Yeah.
Right. And the only reason that's there is it's not to stick it to anybody. It's to say, like, it's basically saying, like, no one knows what to do. I don't know what to do. No one's an authority. No one has no one nails it every time, right? People think they do. But if someone tells me, oh, you should do this. Why? Oh, because it will work.
Well, do you get annoyed by those people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've always done that. And the reason I think it kind of like it grew, because I used to read that stuff, and I spent a lot of time consuming that kind of garbage. And it helped me. Some of it absolutely helped me. I cannot bash all of it. But for the most part, like, they were trying to, like, what it felt like was like trying to stick a square block in a circle, right? Because my site was Swim University, and it's a site where I teach people how to take care of their pools and hot tubs. My audience wasn't in the online marketing space. They're an older crowd. They're not, they don't hang out in forums. So, like, I was always getting the advice, like, you just need to get in front of someone else's audience and then kind of like take them into your own. And I go, but that doesn't exist in my world. There's no one else that has this site where there's a bunch of pool owners sitting in a chat room all talking about pool algae. That doesn't exist. Yeah. And I can't get in front of them. So I had to do it organically. And there was no one out there giving out that advice. And so I was sort of taking this advice and sort of molding it into what worked for my thing. And it turns out, like, the thing that they all told me to do, like everyone told me to do, didn't work. The one thing that I sat down with myself and thought, all right, what's something that I could do to really make Swim University like completely different and like stand out? And I did it. I did rap videos, and I wrote these like incredibly long, in-depth articles, and made like really funny, or I tried to make really funny, pool care videos that were just well done. And no one gave me that advice. No one said you should go do those 3 things and you will have success for many years to come, because no one knows that. And that's not good advice, because that's just kind of like, oh yeah, go make a rap video about pool care. No one's going to say that's not cookie cutter enough.
No, it's not. It's outside of the box.
Right. So ignore best practices is like, it makes a lot of sense, because it's like, well, who says this is the best? Who's the guy or the collection of guys or gals who says this is the best practice? Because I challenge that. And it's a matter of just challenging the status quo. And when you do that, I mean, clearly it's working. I don't know how long it will work. It may just be a trend, but I'm willing to keep going and seeing what happens with it. I talk a lot.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay when you talk. I like listening. But I think that's the key ingredient, though, is that a lot of online marketing is sort of just that belief in what they do themselves, right? It's not necessarily best practices. It's actually being able to just tell people. They want to tell people more than they actually want to do what's going on. So I think that's the biggest issue.
Well, I'll tell you what, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that you should go out and create satire pieces on your whatever industry you're in, because that's going to get you more traffic. That's just, I'm not going to do that because I don't even know if that'll work. But what I will do is tell the story about what I did. Like, tell the story of the process. Like, I have done this on Medium instead of my own website, where, someone asked me, I did this podcasting page where I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to go and pitch a bunch of podcasters. I'd rather just make something so unique and great that if a podcaster saw it, they would be like, I gotta book this guy. That was just the whole thought. And I'm like, I'm just gonna make this delightful long page that kind of speaks directly to podcasters and but does it in the third person, which was something that my girlfriend was like. I originally had it written in the first person, and it kind of sounded like I was just bragging about myself.
Yeah, too full of yourself.
She was like, why don't you make it in the third person? I think it sounds better. And I'm like, yep, and it totally worked. Yeah. And so like I'm not going to recommend other people do that. It's just what I will do is say, like, people ask me like what happened as a result of that page, and so I'll write an article like, okay, here was my original idea. Here's what I came up with. Here's how I executed every little tactical part of it. Like, here's how I actually filmed, like literally created all the pictures, which like all the pictures on the website that you see, it's really just one long video of me just doing different poses in front of the camera and then taking screenshots of those to pick the best ones. Because I was by myself, so I didn't have like somebody to like hit the button. Right. So, and so I like shared all of that stuff. And then I said, at the end, I ended up getting like, I think now it's like 25 podcast interviews I booked. And that's it. I didn't say, and then you should go out and do this, or here's my, 20-step guide for $499 on how to, get booked on a podcast. And I absolutely could make that course and I could totally make money on that. But that's just selling an anecdote that may or may not work. And so when it comes to marketing stuff, like I just don't like selling it, because I think it's like, I'm not going to sell a course or a product that's like, be creative. Here's how to be a creative marketer, because then like inherently, if you buy that, you're just not a creative person because you're just asking somebody else to be creative for you. And, I just think that it's just a matter of just, sitting down with yourself and thinking like, how do I want to position myself, and, who am I, and how do I do this honestly? And what makes me feel good at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you're sitting there going like, man, I really hate it that I like sent that email out where I just like asked everybody to like pay me money, whatever it is. And you could have said it sleazy. Do it in a way that makes you feel comfortable, and don't worry about what anybody else says. And people are gonna like be attracted to that honesty, I think. And so I see it happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that campaign you had for the podcast, like it was very, very intriguing and interesting and lighthearted and brutally honest, I guess. And I guess that's sort of what I'm in the search of too, is finding those key people that are saying, hey, you know what? The status quo is crap, right? It's more a matter of, hey, what can we do a little bit differently, sort of build it the way that I feel it should be done, and then just play with it and have fun.
And eventually, you know what? I kind of fear this, which could be like what I end up doing is starting the status quo. It's like, I'm doing this my way. People copy it, which I'm already getting. I'm already getting people who tell me they want to copy me, but I'm like, why are you telling me? Just go copy me. It. If you want to steal it, go ahead. Why are you asking permission to like take my car? So like, I just think it's I think hopefully it doesn't happen, and I don't think it will. But it could. I could be right now doing a bunch of things that like, and people go like, you know what, this is the way you market, and then everyone else becomes the guru for me. It says like, you should do it like this guy, and it's sort of like, I think it's kind of like where Elon Musk is like, everyone's looking to him now and saying like, that's the way you build a company, and like people are not going to be able to emulate that. Like he like, there's so many factors that went into like who he is and how he built that.
Well,
you can't just copycat that.
Yeah, that and $20 billion, right? Like, sure. Hey, that makes it pretty easy.
But I mean, he built a company before that, so it's it's just interesting to see that could happen. And the challenge going forward with this kind of stuff is like, how do I continually be original and creative and not just start regurgitating my own, stuff?
Yeah.
Which I think inherently, like, I'm not that type of person. So like, I would hate repeating myself in general. So, cause it's not original, and I always want to be original and, as a creative artist, and it's like, I don't want to do the same songs, A
lot of times. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of that comes from creativity, right? And I think a lot of us are struggling with that in business and in online business specifically. It's like, because you're kind of trying to fit within, what you feel is acceptable and what may not be acceptable, and just kind of trying to fill that gap, where I think that you've sort of found that cool placement where it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go out, going to have some fun, going to put up some pages, and play with people's minds a little bit.
Well, see, it's not just that too. Like, I mean, I agree, but I did this before. This is not like what Money Lab, what people are seeing now, and like seeing the marketing side of what I do, which I love. It's like Money Lab was set up in such a way that, because I've done so many other things, I'm like, you know what? I want to set my company and my brand up to be a certain way and to operate a certain way where, Money Lab itself has no obligation to make money, ironically. It's set up to be an incubator where I can create, different little projects, because the way I thought about, like, all right, well, what do I want? Like, do I want to start a blog where I talk about marketing and then I'm pigeonholed to just talking about marketing for as long as, and then I'd have to pivot later? And it's like, no, I don't want that. So what is it that I really want is I'm a person who consistently and constantly changes his interests and opinions. And I'm a human. That's what humans do, right? So I built the business to say, like, well, listen, Money Lab, there's just one theme, which is very simple. It's money, right? If the project has to make money, that's all it is. So I can challenge myself to, make an online course, or I could challenge myself to sell sponsorships, or I can challenge myself to play guitar in the middle of the street somewhere, or I can challenge myself to make a rap album and try to sell it. I can challenge myself to pretty much do anything, wherever my interest wanes, and that works for that particular brand. And whether or not it makes money is kind of the best part of it. It's like, some things, like the last thing that I did, which was I took 7 days and I built a little mini course that was like a 3-hour video course that I, sold for $25, and it made $1,000, like in a very pretty short amount of time. And I'm very happy with that result. Like, cause I basically sat down, it took 5 days. I built something, it took 2 days, took a day off, took a day to promote it, made $1,000, boom. That's an article now. That's going to live forever. People can look at that and say, wow, okay, maybe I should do something similar to that or whatever. But he never taught me how to do this. I'm just watching his process. And so Money Lab itself was like, it's built to be that, right? And it's such a broad, and I purposefully, made it a broad brand so that I could do like satire pieces and, all those sorts of things that I was interested in comedy. But even at Swim University, which is such a boring, weirdly, the pool industry is like really dull, which you would think like it wouldn't be. You'd think it'd be like all fun and games.
It's not bikinis and beers and everything.
It's absolutely the polar opposite of that. When you go to these conferences, they are friggin' boring. Everyone's in suits. You're
they have a conference for pools.
They have 2 big ones every year. They're one in Las Vegas and one in Atlantic City, and they changed the Las Vegas one, but it's always in Atlantic City every year. And it's all people in suits. They have them all over the country. I mean, they're all over the world. I mean, it's people in suits.
Well, you should show up in a Speedo then.
Yeah, oh God, no one wants to see that. That would probably be bad marketing. But
okay.
But the idea, like, so I took that industry and said, like, why does this have to be like all about like chemistry and about like, I don't know, like money, like it's just boring and like nerdy, and a bad nerdy, not like cool nerdy, not like Google nerdy, but like, I don't know, like bio, like biotech nerdy, or like, right. Like, I don't know, some other like really hardcore nerdy.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Super nerdy.
And so I'm like, so with Swim University, I'm like, I want people to read an article about getting rid of algae and then have like a chuckle, and not take this so seriously because it's a freaking pool. You know what I mean? Like, why?
But so algae is important too, right?
Yeah, algae's it's all natural. People drink it now, so it's
a second business.
Yeah, I just think that it's just really. I mean, whenever you just take something and you just say, like, all right, well, what do I want to do, right? And chances are like you're going to find like-minded people who go, I get this. And I love it. It's not just because it's not the same thing. And maybe that is just how I am and people resonate towards that. And maybe some other people aren't that way. But I think you're doing yourself a disservice by conforming to what other people say you should do, when you should really just sit down and think to yourself, like, what do I want in a pool website, or what do I want in a coffee, education site, or what do I want in a marketing site? Like, what interests me? Every single time I've built any brand, it's been because it's self-serving. We did a podcast called Listen Money Matters that was about personal finance, and it was very successful. And the reason is because like I targeted 30-year-old males who suck with money and like drinking beer, which is me. Like, and not anymore, but like that is, I love beer. I just don't suck with money anymore. But like at the time, like I just built like the show for me, and and I set the show up to where like, look, we could drink on the show, and that ended up becoming part of the brand. And it was because, I wanted to drink and talk to my buddy over Skype and, talk about money and be honest and make jokes and be dirty. And that's, it was like, what do I want to do? And then who do I want to target? I want to target me. It's all self-serving. And everything I've ever done in that realm of self-serve, and even though I don't own a pool, but when I sat down and thought, like, what do I want Swim University to be? I said, I'm a visual learner, and I really like that stuff is in depth, and like I don't have to click around a site to find what I need to find. Like I can find the article about pool algae, learn everything. I watch a funny video and it's like super well done, and there's graphics to illustrate, and like I'm gonna fall in love with a site like that. Any site, no matter where it is, no matter what industry it's in, that's the site I want to create, and that's the site I ended up creating. And it may grow slower than other sites that just like spam the shit out of everybody, but and pardon my French, but I think that is one way to do business. And if you can go to bed at night and feel okay in the morning, that's good, fine, great for you. That's just not how I operate, and that's not how I want to operate, and that's not how I want people to remember me. It's like, oh yeah, he was the guy that just spammed everyone for the past 2 decades, and then he died. But I don't want that. I like having like, oh, he's the funny guy that made an email page. I'm okay with dying with that.
Okay, good. So did you see then the same things with when you sort of decided, hey, I want to not necessarily step up my game a bit, but when you moved from the Swim University to the Money Lab, did you say, oh, there's a lot of sacred cows here, there's a lot of people talking about buzz and fuzz and all this, and not to make a mockery of it, but just to sort of create that better understanding that, hey, why don't we just wipe this slate clean and go back to basics and have a little bit of fun with it?
That's not what I thought at all.
Okay.
Again, this is like, this all boils down to being like a little selfish, right? So yeah. When I started every single brand that I've started, I never looked at the competition.
So you never had any preconceptions of what online marketing is?
Yes. I mean, I absolutely did.
Okay.
And I didn't go out to challenge those. I just said, what do I want? And yes, of course I've had preconceptions of what online marketing is. I've been doing it for a while, and I'm like, oh, I hate this, or I like this, but I hate this, and I like this. And so I, of course, formed this like persona and opinion that's like kind of overarching. And I just sat down and thought, like, what do I want in a marketing website? Like, what do I want to see? And I made that thing. And of course it has its opinion. It's very opinion rich, just in my words and the things that I choose to do in my challenges. But it's not, I didn't set out to like completely buck and change the system. Like, that's not what I'm out to do. I'm out to do something that I can go to bed at night and think, like, that was fun today. I really liked that I did that. And whether it's conforming, it could be whatever that quote unquote conforming is. Like, maybe it's like, maybe I just really am glad that I put a pop-up on a website. Like, I'm just going to go to bed and I feel really good that I did that. Or, it's probably not, that's a terrible example because I would never feel good about that. But,
right.
But
you're honest about it, right? It's like,
right. I mean, I do it. That's the thing. Like, I absolutely use pop-ups on Swim University and Roasty. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
And they work very well. And but I don't use them on Money Lab. And that's just because I don't want to use it on Money Lab. But it doesn't mean I have to, just because I may, and of course I may be leaving, email addresses on the table, but that's okay because that's not the point of that particular website. And it's in I just no one's gonna tell me to, like I said, make a rap video about pool care. Like that's something that you have to sit down with yourself and go like, what would make me feel good to create, even if no one saw it, right? Even if like 2 people saw it and thought like, dude, that was really cool, man. Like that alone, that thought, right, is why you should do anything in life. It's like, so there's like, just give me an example. Like there's been a time in my life where like my best friend was getting married and he asked me to be his best man. And his wife said to me, I would be like honored if you wrote the intro song that we would all walk out to at the wedding, because I do music and they thought that would be really special that I would create this song for them. And like, it's sort of like this dance, like, pump you up kind of song. We all go out, into the crowd. And I ended up like sitting down and writing a 4-song EP, like all about them, and packaging it up into a CD and like, shrink wrap the whole thing, like design the cover, really? Did the whole thing. And gave it to everyone at the wedding as like a free gift. Like it had a parental advisory sticker on it, and I had to do ones for the grandparents that didn't have any curses. I had to bleep that out. But like I gave out the CD to this like group of people at this wedding in Florida, and that's it. No one else has ever has really ever seen that. I mean, it's on the internet, but I don't like promote it. Right. But I just did this like little creative piece, and I love that happened. Like I get to personally tell that story to people, and it's just like it makes me feel good that like I spent the time to write like a little album for somebody for one day, and that little piece of art will stand the test of time. And I think if you can think that way in your business, right, you're setting yourself up for the long term, and it's not going to pay off right away. Like, I mean, I sat down and I thought, I want to do something funny on Swim University. Like I've been sitting here writing these articles about chemistry and like trying to make it fun, but like I'm just getting drained. And so I'm like, I'm really good at this rap stuff. I've been doing it like as a side joke for like my friends and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? What if I actually like did a pool care rap? Like what if I made a rap video about like taking care of a swimming pool? Like that's insane. That's a stupid thing. And like most people would never like.
Well, they go, that's just a crap idea.
Yeah. And if you worked for a company, your boss would be like, no, you have better things to do. Go write more articles. Like, you wouldn't be able to do something like that. And so I was like, you know what? If I tell anybody this idea, they're going to be like, that's insane. Don't do that. That's stupid. Like, cause that's what the best practice is, right? Go do the other thing. And so I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to do it. And I ended up writing the beat, and I like hired, I brought this woman to sing, and we did the rap, and I made a video, and I made a behind the scenes video, and I did this whole thing, and it's so dumb, right? It's just the idea is still, when I watch the video, I still laugh at it because I'm like, I cannot believe I did this. That video went viral.
Dumb or fun?
Yeah.
Or both.
It's just like everything, right? And that video went viral in the industry, and I got a ton of like backlinks, that's great. But like then like every conference I go to, like people know who I am. Like I became like semi trusted because I put something out there that's so ridiculous but so well done that it's just, you can't be like, they can't ignore you at that point. It's just like, and it's the same thing I did with the email satire page and even this podcast page. It's like, I made the stupid idea. I took the stupid idea and I made it into a thing, and it happened to succeed. Now, to be honest, I've taken a lot of stupid ideas and made them, and they didn't work. I actually one time made an entire social network for dogs, an entire thing. Like I built the whole thing. You could, sniff and unsniff other dogs as if you're following them. You can send treats to other dogs as like, I did this whole thing. And I just like put it out there, and no one was like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is dumb. And I just end up giving it up and, moving on. But I did it. Like I can put it out there now if I wanted to, but I won't. But I think you just need to act on the stupid ideas. Like just do it. What do you have to lose?
So you have a filter then too.
Yeah.
Somewhere down there.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the filter. The filter is, when I did that email satire page, well, I mean, here's a good filter, right? I did the podcasting page, which you saw, and it was all in the first person, right? It was all, and it wasn't funny. Like it was kind of like douchey, to be honest. Like, because I'm sitting there going like, I want to be on your podcast, and I use the best equipment, and I'm this and this, and and if you read it without any pictures or anything, it would sound like this guy is just really full of himself, and it's just not funny unless you know me as a person, and I'm not that way, which doesn't really translate on the internet. So when my girlfriend was like, "Hey, you should make it in the third person because it's funnier and it allows you to say like more self-deprecating things," and she was 100% right. And when we changed it, it totally made sense, and it became more delightful. And I changed it, and I added the pictures, and it was good. Same with the email satire page. When I first created that, the idea was actually give me your effing email address. And it was really like mean. And it was like, if you don't give me your email address, you're a jerk and I hate you. And that's how I wrote it. I mean, I literally had that done. It wasn't published, but I wrote like this scathing, like mean kind of thing. And I sat on it for 2 days and went back to it and was like, well, that's not funny. Like using the F word in every sentence isn't funny. And so I kind of like stripped it down, made it a little cleaner. And then it was like clean, but then it didn't really serve a point. And I sat longer with it and I'm like, all right, well, what's the point I'm trying to make with this? Like the point I'm trying to make is that there's all these tactics out there and, they all work. But what's at the bottom line, what are we trying to say? Like, give me your email address. Right. So, I ended up like putting real stats and linking to them and like trying to make it like almost a little informative and then hit them at the end with the punchline and spent a lot of time like crafting that, It wasn't just like a page that I threw together and put out there. And same with the, the pool care rap video. It's not something that I had the idea, I put it together in 2 seconds and it's out there. I spent time on it. If I'm going to do something stupid, it better be stupid good, Well,
how long do you estimate it took to actually make that?
Which part?
The email page or the podcast page for the
the email page took about 2 weeks to make because I had written it as soon as I had the idea. This is very rare for me. Is whereas like you have the idea and you just make it. Like I literally had the idea in my chair and I turned on my computer and I started coding it, right? And I started writing the copy, and then I like sat on it for like a couple of days and kept going back to it and taking breaks from it. Like it wasn't like 2 weeks of solid work on it. That's not what I mean. It was 2 weeks of like letting it marinate, like getting the idea out of my head onto something that I could look at later or think about, with more context, and then kind of let it ruminate in my brain and say, that isn't working. When I go back and read this 2 days later, like this isn't working. And then you sit there and say, like, why isn't this working? Well, it's because, I'm not getting anything from this. Like, I don't feel a connection to this or whatever. It's not speaking to me. So you start changing, you start molding, and you let it just kind of like take a life of its own. And then I had some other people help me. I mean, I put it out, like I had a finished product and I put it, I'd send it to some friends and they had some suggestions, which I used. Some of them I didn't. And over time, like I started like, building, adding these like third-party software to like do all the pop-ups. And then I realized like a lot of them weren't firing and weren't working. So I had to like build my own. So that took some time. And, I really cleaned it up because again, it was really scathing. And then it kind of took a form where it was workshopped and it became like a nicer, but still kind of scathing and like biting, but a lot softer. And just things like the pool care rap video, took over, I did the podcast rap, which you've seen on that page. That took 5 days, which is actually not that long to do, like literally like write a beat, write the lyrics, record the lyrics, master the song, write the script for the video, film the video, edit the video, publish the video. Like that was all done in 5 days, but that's because I had a time frame that I had to get it done in 5 days. So but the idea was like, we're doing this and we it's good. I was validated about when I finished the song, I had sent it to my partner and he was like, this is great. And I'm like, all right, well then we're full speed. Now we're running and we're going to finish this thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, you can't really push creativity. It takes a while to sort of build up to that, get the idea. And it's really fascinating how that process that you went through too, to say, hey, you know what, at the initial glance, it was a little bit hard, a little bit, maybe perhaps made yourself look a little bit tainted.
Yes.
But then you can kind of soften it up from there and actually make it humorous and funny and delightful.
Yes, for sure.
Can I use that word, delightful?
Yeah.
That's a fair word. No, that's cool. So what's next for you then, Matt?
Oh man. Well, so I'm gonna take a break. Actually, I'm gonna.
Well, the money lab must be full then.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Look, it's literally in its infancy. I have not really. I've done like 3 challenges on there, which is really all of the like. What's the meat of the website is just like these challenges that I do. And I plan on filling it out with some more and doing some more interactive stuff with the community, or just like people that are subscribed to the email list now, so that they feel more involved with the challenges and maybe do some sort of thing with that. But I'm taking a month off from everything, from all of my businesses, projects, whatever, and just kind of chilling and resetting the clocks. And I think when I get back, I want to really start thinking about what Money Lab is, and Money Lab to me is bigger than online marketing. It's not just like, I don't want to just build online courses and sell online sponsorships and build blogs, and I don't want it to be so and this is so, by the way, like the opposite of best practice. Like everyone's like, you need to niche down and like find a a community and a crowd, right? And I'm just thinking like, well, I don't want to do that. I'd rather like build something that like even somebody who doesn't even know how to use the internet can go and look at that, or at least one challenge on my site and go like, that is freaking awesome. Like I didn't realize you could do that. So one of the things that I'm thinking about doing is trying to write, record, produce, and release a rap album in 30 days, like a full 12-song rap album.
With
all original work, with me and some featured guests on it. Yeah, all original beats that I would write. I bought a MIDI keyboard that I hooked up to my computer. My brother just flew in and he sent my guitar because I just moved to Colorado, so I haven't had my guitar in a while. So here it is. It's here now, and I'm gonna write. I already have 2 songs that I'm gonna put on the album finished, and I'm gonna do 10 songs and release it and try to sell an album with no audience, with just what I know about the music industry, the little bit that I do know, and see what happens. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. It could completely flop. No one buys it. It's dumb. Or it could like take off, or it could do mediocrely, whatever. But I'm just going to be, I think about like, 25 years from now and someone's like, remember you did that album in 30 days? Like that was crazy, right? And I'm like, yeah, it was crazy. And it's going to make me smile. Like it's not a project where I'm like, they're not going to say like, oh, you remember when you built that online course about marketing? Like that was crazy, right? Like, no, because there's like 50 billion courses out there right now. So not really. So I just want to, I want to do something that's like not an online thing, and a challenge that really is like a friggin' challenge. I mean, I don't really know if I could do a full album in 30 days, but I have to think, when you put the time frames on your projects, which I love doing, like when I found out that was like actually an asset to doing anything online, is saying, look, you got 7 days to make something. So what are you going to make? What makes the most sense to make? Put it out into the world and start to see what happens. And it's like, okay, well now, I could do a bunch of 7-day challenges, or I could do like, a 60-day challenge where I, build like, a massive, online community that people could sign up for. Or I, try to, I spend a 365-day challenge or a 12-month challenge where I try to build a blog from scratch and have it make, $1,000 a month or something. The possibilities of the challenges are endless, and the ones that work will remain in actively, and the ones that don't will kind of get go into a dead pile, if you will. But I'm never gonna sit back at the end of the day and say like I hate that I did that, because it's just a bunch of like things that I'm actually creating from nothing, and whether that's an album or a course or a movie or a documentary or whatever interest I have at that time, I'm going to be proud of it. And that's the only thing that matters, I think, at the end of the day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, I love what you're doing. In terms of just sort of final words, somebody's whatever, they have a business, what would you say they should look at in terms of how do they make that business better? It doesn't have to be online, doesn't have to be off. Well, obviously it has to be one or the other, but what's you've talked a lot about philosophies, but sort of just summing it up, what would you recommend?
Just be honest with yourself and with the people you're trying to serve. You don't have to be a salesy, because I mean, in the end, like, all sales is selling yourself. So just be honest, be a human being, and don't hide behind a business. Like, put yourself out there. I think people don't like Money Lab. They like me. They can't relate to a circle with a rat in it. They can relate to me because I'm flesh and blood. So if you can, like, I took like I said, I took a pool care website and made it very personal. And it doesn't mean that your face has to be on it. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you just have to. It's a really tough thing to, like, really tell somebody, because it's not really tactical. But just sit down, and this is what I do. I just sit down and I shut off everything, and I, like, tune out all the blogs that I've ever read, and I just go, what do I want from this business? If I were a consumer of this product, or if I was going to be a customer of this business, what would make me, tell somebody else about this business, or come back and buy again, or, even, whip out any kind of money and give it to this business? Like, if you sit down and say that, like, because no one's going to sit down and say, like, I really want their customer service to be really bad. I want to wait in line. I want it to be really hard to return the product, just so I can, I want it to be $1,000. They're never going to say things like that. They're going to say, like, I want them to be honest with me. I want it to be easy to buy. I want it to be, affordable. And I want it to over deliver when I get it. I want to be able to open up the product and say, like, this is amazing. Holy crap. I can't believe I only spent X amount of dollars on this. That's the things you're going to say to yourself. And you want to, and at the same time, like, you want to sit there, and it doesn't even matter. Like, I could literally put this into any single business. I could say this about, like, any, like, small, like a lawnmower store, right? I don't even know if that's a thing, but, like, imagine, like, going into a lawnmower store and just feeling awesome being there. Like, it's fun. Like, they may have, like, a mow your grass section, or everyone in there is super nice, super helpful. All the machinery is, like, affordable. And if it's not, they put plans in place to make it affordable. Their customer service kicks ass. Like, everything about it rules. You are going to tell everyone who's in the market for a lawnmower that is the only place to buy a lawnmower. And you're not going to be the only person who spreads that message if your company is really that good. And it doesn't even matter what business you're in. It can be a pool website on the internet. It can be a biotech company. It really doesn't matter. I think it just matters, like, it just be, human.
Yeah, it's about delivering that remarkable value and packaging it, perhaps the way that you're saying, make it, what would you like to experience? What would you like to, enjoy about this, and making that memorable moment as well.
And and that's the thing, because you could say that, right? And people will start thinking about how they can do that. And it's like, think about those things, but just think about it to you. You're the only customer. Don't make up some friggin', fake avatar for your business. That's so dumb. Just make the thing that you want to exist in the world and feel good about it. And then every single morning you're going to wake up, and every night you're going to go to bed, and you're going to feel good about yourself that you did something. And you may not make a ton of money, but that's not going to matter at the end, It's going to matter if you had fun, and if it, you feel good waking up, and you want to go do that thing. So, like I said, the pool care rat video made $0. The podcast rat video, again, $0. But those are the things I'm most proud of, not, the pop-ups that have gotten me a few bucks here and there or anything else. Like, I'm glad I made the Asana for Bloggers course, because when you watch it, like, you laugh, it feels good. Everyone seems to be getting, help from it. They've actually started using Asana more for their business. And and really not because of what I put in there, just because of like the care that went into making it. So, just give a shit, I guess. I don't know.
Give a shit. Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, listen, Matt, it's been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed your insights and how you're sort of really, like I said, making waves and sharing it with the rest of the world. It's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks. And Matt Giovanisci, did I say that right?
Yeah, so I just want to say it's Matt Giovanisci, but it's close.
Okay.
I think you just made me Polish, but I'm half Italian.
Which half?
I don't know. I hope the good one. But so I just want to tell people to go to moneylab.co/dingle if they want to get more information. So
/dingle. All right. Okay.
Dingle.
Cool. Well, I'll have all that information on our podcast link, thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. Cool. And we'll be sending that out shortly. So thanks again, Matt.
All right. Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening to Breaking Digital, the podcast for smart entrepreneurs wanting to become true digital leaders in their industry and to own online. If you have any comments on the program, please feel free to connect on Twitter @DoyleBuehler with the hashtag #OwnOnline. I would really appreciate it if you could share this podcast with your network, as I'm sure they will get some value from it for building their successful business online as well. You can find the resources that we talked about, as well as the transcript and full podcast for download on thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast or on iTunes or on SoundCloud. I'm Doyle Buehler, and I will see you online.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Digital with Doyle Buehler. While he goes and makes a sandwich, you can find all of the notes, links, and details on this podcast by visiting thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. Go on and click that now. www.thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. I'll definitely click that. If you'd like a free copy of the book, The Digital Delusion, How to Overcome the Misguidance and Misinformation Online, just send an email to doyle@thedigitaldelusion.com. See you online.